Welcome to Get After It with Nashi, brought to you by Ace Property Management and Sales.
We are still recording. So Mike, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. How's your day been? How are things at the moment? I know you had a bit of press this week or recently regarding Afghanistan and things. How are you?
Yeah, today's going really well. I just get after it every day as I try to anyway. This week was quite surreal with the news stuff. I was just so happened to be down at an event in London. I tagged myself in London on Instagram, and then some people got hold of me and said, would I mind doing something for Sky News? Before I knew it, there was a truckload of reporters and cameramen in front of me. And then, I just saw it as an opportunity just to tell the boys out there just how proud I was of them, and how proud the nation was of them, and they should be able to hold their heads up high. I saw loads of shit on Twitter, and Twitter will tell you that they think everything was in vain. And I just thought, at my level, we just went out there and did a job. We got told to do something. We turned up and we did it to the best of our ability, and they should hold their heads high, especially over the last 2 weeks in front of, the whole world is watching, and what they've done to go. They've sent some aggressive paratroopers in to be the most compassionate people in the world, and I thought it was incredible, and I'm so proud of them.
Yeah, and it's brave of you. It's good of you for what you've done and what you've said, and putting yourself out there and letting them know that you guys, let alone the rest of us, are here backing them and backing everybody, and just wishing everyone as much safety and protection as they need and they can get. And you yourself, obviously, reading back on your history, at 17 years old, you enrolled in the military, but at that point you were too young to get deployed. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So I joined literally at 17, passed out when I was 17, 6 months later, just in the April 2008 when all the boys were going out to Afghan. I was the only person who had to stay back. I was too young. So all my mates I passed out with, they all went. So I had a little bit of a different job back there, but that was one of the things that made me start flapping when the news reporters came, because when they asked me that question, don't know how they knew.
Yeah.
I was then thinking, oh shit, is that going to become the story? Like, am I going to be that guy on the paper who's like 17, doing that job? But obviously that's the job that needed to be done. It is what it is. I joined the army, and that's it. I do as I'm told. But I was between the hours of me recording that and the hours of it going live, I was flapping. I spoke to all my mates saying, right, whatever happens at 7:00 when this goes out, you need to start putting fires out. I need you to just basically be on Twitter and all over social media helping me out, because I could be in trouble here. But it was fine. I got away with it, thankfully.
Yeah, but as a 17-year-old boy, you were thrown into it. And I mean, can you elaborate on that a little bit? I know you don't want any headlines about it, but I was quite taken aback with what you had to deal with as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, I think the news worded it wrongly. They talked about body bags and stuff, and my job was repatriations and funerals, coffin bearers, etc. like that. So, it was a difficult period in my life. It was. I won't shy away from that. I struggled during that period. Especially because all my mates and everyone I knew was out there, and all I wanted to do was be out there with them. And then I'm now carrying these heroes who I felt I had no right to. I didn't feel as if I earned the right to do that. And it was a strange feeling, and I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. Obviously it was a horrible time for me. And I struggled through it. It wasn't great, but it was a job that had to be done. Someone had to be there as a paratrooper carrying these paratroopers, and I'm very privileged to have done so. Now I'm a little bit old and I think back on it, but back then I felt very strange and I felt very inferior to be doing it.
How did it affect you mentally? Did you realize the magnitude of what you were doing, and how important your role was as a 17-year-old boy, or were you just following orders?
Just following orders, mate. I mean, I probably didn't realize I did understand the magnitude. I really did, but it was probably not to the degree that I do now. And I was just following all. I was doing exactly what I was told to do, to the best of my ability. And, it was strange. It was a strange time for me, especially because like I said, everyone was out there,
yeah.
And they thought it was that bad. They sent me on the same decompression as what the boys did coming back from Sangin.
Really?
So they sent me on the same thing for them, which was, listen, I didn't know way near as bad as what the boys were having it out there, but in a psychological way at 17, I struggled at that time.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then how did things kick on from there? I want to obviously get into what you do now and human performance and everything, but were you a fit laddie? Were you good at school? What were you like at 16, 17 in the military? Could you listen to orders, or were you rebellious? What kind of kid were you?
I was a little shit. I thought the world owed me something. I turned up to Paratrooper Depot with no idea about what it entails, about how difficult it would become. I thought the world owed me something. People was there double my age. I was youngest by a long way, and it hit me in the face hard, mate, on week 1, day 1. But I had nothing else. I joined to put food on the table for my little sister and my mum, and that was it. So whatever they threw at me, I wasn't coming away. So I was there and I just presumed that was what the army was. Obviously, Paratrooper Depot is quite notorious for being quite tough. It was, that tough. I think there was 9 originals out of 60 people who started, me being one of them at 17. Again, I didn't realize the magnitude of that. I just presumed that was the army, and that was the cutoff. And it was just like, this must just be the army. I've got nothing else. So here I am. Keep throwing it at me. What
do you say to youngsters now that maybe approach you that are extremely young? Do you say, go for it, crack on, or do you say, give it a minute,
Nah, if that's what you want, then you go and get it. And it's, as long as you prepare sufficiently, then you'll be absolutely fine. People join for Queen and Country. I didn't. I joined to put food on the table. But other people join for a whole multitude of different reasons. And especially in the parachute regiment, people come from all walks of life, and they just so happen to meet at the same place, the same time, in depot, and they grow on to be brothers, and you get through it together, and that's it. And it is what it is. People join for all sorts of different reasons. So if you want that at 17, you go and get that. You go and make it happen.
Yeah. And is it the same rules? Is it the same age grade as it was when you started as it is to today? Or is anything changed? Have they got to be a little bit older now, or 17 age?
No, you can actually be younger. So I got offered to go to the Army Foundation College. We're one of 2 countries in the world to offer a foundation college into the military. So you can actually join at 16. Now, if I was to do that, I would have had to go and do 1 year of foundation, which would have been my phase 1, followed by Paratrooper Depot. Fast forward a few years later, I end up instructing that pathway. And that I wasn't willing to do that. In my head, it was you can either go in for a year and a half or 6 months. And I was like, well, 6 months, I'll do that. I'll get out of training. I'll be on more money. And that was it.
Yeah. And how far ahead, we'll jump a lot of your career in the military, but how far ahead did you start looking at PT and what you do now as a coach as to becoming life away from the military? Was it something that was always on the radar for you, or what was the mindset? I so committed to being a soldier. All I wanted to do was be the best soldier. I had no intentions of becoming a PTI, no intentions of going and getting a degree in coaching and becoming a coach, no intentions of human performance. I looked after myself, and I did whatever I could to the best of my ability as a paratrooper, and that was it. I stumbled across a PTI course because some officer forgot to write a report on me, which is apparently a big no-no. So when I got pulled into the office and got told I didn't have a report, they said, "What do you want?" And I was like, PTI course. Why not? So that was on the Friday. I started the PTI course on the Monday, and that was it. Even after that, I had no intention of going down that route. It was back to being a soldier, and that was it. And it just, some more things happened that just fell into place. I got sent up to Catterick as a PTI, and that was when I thought, right, I'm not sitting still for 2 years again, thinking of my soldiering. Fuck it, I'll get myself on a degree. I just signed up to uni, went fully in, didn't tell uni I had a job, didn't tell the army I was in uni, and just studied as much as I can. Realised I was actually all right at this. Binned every single external influence that I could have on me. Stopped going out, binned my telly. I became the most boring bloke in the world. And my best mates will tell you that now, how boring I was. But I was just studying all night and then implementing that into practice all day. And, you could have 50 people per session up to 4 times a day.
and I was just getting in the hours that no one else had access to. There's no PT in the country who could put as many people through as many hours as what I was doing, and then going in the night and just studying all night, getting through my assignments and stuff. And that was when I just grew to love it. The more I began to know, the more I realized I didn't know, and I wanted to know more.
Where did you get that determination to throw the TV out, take away the influences? Because that was, what sort of age were you when you started doing that? Because that's a tough thing to commit to.
23 hours.
23, and you had that vision of what you want to become, or a route, and you were able to almost selfishly, commit selfishly. And a lot of people, successful people, say you got to be a bit selfish, and you got to just kill the distractions and get rid of that. And you identified that. And you're saying your friends and the squaddies would give you a bit of a hard time, would you? Would they be all heading out on the lash and you?
Everyone's out on the lash, and everyone, you coming out, Mike, and it was, no, I need to get this in. I want to know this, and that was it. And I just got invested into it. I just fell in love with the body, and I fell in love even more with how to manipulate the body. And I was just constantly on it, constantly thinking about the body and how I can make changes. And that was probably where because before that, I was just living the dream. I was just going through life. There was nothing that, I turn up to whatever I could and try and be the best. And in my mind, I was always like, I'm winning this. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't to that degree. It was when I started getting into that I thought, right, I'm on it now. And I didn't realize, I don't think, that how much I was fully in on it. And then I started Instagram. I started Instagram because my mum got ill, and my mum was in hospital, and she was ill before that. She has been ill for a long time. She's unfortunately passed away now, but during that time, when she was quite bad, she was in hospital with bleed on the brain. She was out of it. We had the Padre and whoever it was at one point saying, our last goodbyes and stuff. It was like the rock bottom for her. And with a PT Corps bloke at the time. So there's a unit in the Army called Royal Army Physical Training Corps. And it's funny because the guy who did it is actually, gets the piss taken out of him in the PT Corps. But he helped me out so much, where he was like, just go home. Your head's not here. Go home. You need to go be with your mum. And that was it. And I went home, still had uni to do. But what I was doing, because I'd become this obsessed with the body and stuff, whilst I was sat next to her, there's nothing much I could do. I was, she didn't know I was there, and she was out, she was hooked up to every machine. And I just thought, right, the way I've been learning and the way I've been getting things across and cementing this knowledge is by delivering. So I'd take that theory and implement it into practice every day. And I was getting better and better and better and knowing more. So I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll keep teaching, but I'll do it through social media. So I started an Instagram account and just went with it from there. So I started that, again, for a selfish reason, to invest in myself. And it just grew arms and legs. And then, and then I basically almost pretty much became like, she wasn't with me, but full-time care of my little sister. So I had a little bit of a commitment now. And when my time was going to come to an end at Chadwick, I'd have been back down to Colchester away for 3 out of the 4 weeks. And I thought, I can't have that. So I literally went on PT course selection. There's a selection process, a week long. Not over exaggerating. I was off for about 4 or 5 months next to my mum, looking after my little sister, and next to my mum in hospital. I pretty much did zero fitness. Every day I'd get up at the crack of dawn, go straight into hospital with my laptop, and I'd sit next to her every single day, and I wouldn't leave her side. And then what I was doing in between that was looking after my little sister, who was in high school at the time, and just making sure she was okay and making sure she got fed, which I forgot quite a few times. But so I turned up on PT course selection, and I literally, it was just like, it was one of those things where it was like, I'm just going to go on it. There's all sorts of like outfits and uniforms and shitty things you've got to have prepared for it. And I just so happened to have known the lad who was running it at the time. So we started on a Sunday. And on the Friday, I messaged him saying, where do I need to be on Sunday? And he was like, oh, be here in what's called Mufti. And I was like, what's mufti? And he was like, you've got to be joking me. And there's always this like prepared stuff that you need to turn up with. So I'm now beg, borrow, and stealing what's basically like the shittest suit in the country. And it's just like, it needs like badges and buttons and stuff sewn on. So I'm getting some like random people to sew buttons on for me. And it was crazy. So anyway, I turned up on Sunday, zero prep, no fitness, and just somehow bluffed my way through that week selection, just on like leaning on the fact that with my knowledge about the body. And that was it. It just stemmed from there. And I completely bluffed my way through, passed selection somehow. And then I was just like, right, I may as well go now. So that's when I went on probs, and that's where the story began, really, about optimizing human performance. I started building programs around the country for various people, various units. Worked on the infantry training center, worked on pretty much every pathway for the parachute regiment. Most notable was the one I did at Harrogate, where we built something called Op Achilles, bridging the gap between junior entry, that year-long course I said, and standard entry. Tripled the pass rate on that. I just started building these programs with utilizing my knowledge, and it just went like a whirlwind, mate.
So what
Instagram was blowing.
What were you doing at the start on Instagram? Were you putting out what was in your head and motivational posts and information, or what were you actually doing? Were you putting fitness sessions out?
Whatever I was studying that day would get wrote. Whatever I had, if I had an assignment due, whatever it was on, I'd write about that. And I look back at it now, and I don't even know how people read it, because it was a load of shit. So much academics in it. It was just like quoting people and stuff, who's going to go and find this like 4-lined quote that I've put on the bottom of this Instagram. But that's how it started. Some people liked it. And yeah.
So you saw traction starting to build. And what is the business now? Is it still very military operated? Are you still with sort of firefighters and first responders, or do you do public and the everyday man and woman? What's the sort of, how does it vary?
Majority of my people are tactical athletes. So the people that you've just mentioned in terms of firefighters, first responders, police officers, military. Yeah. On top of that, then my biggest demographic, my starting demographic when I started this online coaching was New York firefighters. It's now predominantly people who want to join the parachute regiment or go to Sandhurst for the officers, or want to go on UKSF selection. So it predominantly is what I term tactical athletes. But I do also take on some people who just want to get better. I have an application process, and as long as they meet the criteria in terms of what drives them, their motivational factors, and are they willing to put the effort in. And yeah, so it's not exclusive, but 99% of the time it is tactical athletes.
And how's COVID affected your business? How have you had to maneuver the business, or were you a lot of it online before COVID came in, or how have you been affected?
Didn't really affect me. The only thing, because I do individualized programs, I prescribe, I understand the person, and then I understand their climate, their equipment availability, and their intended aim. So when one of those changes, the whole program changes. So during COVID, everyone's equipment availability changed. Now, it was an absolute efficiency went out the window. It was where I was working all sorts of hours just to try and put programs out for people who had nothing. And obviously I deal with people all over the world. So there's different restrictions for different places. So because I don't write like one ebook that fits everyone, and then everyone would be like, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't suit me anymore. Next. Because it was individualized, I was still keeping on, although it was costing me more time and effort, I was still, I did absolutely fine. I was really, really lucky that I got, people's aims didn't change. And I was explaining that to my athletes, like every sort of a person in this country now are standing still. The aim is still going to be there at the end of COVID. So that's not going to go away. The instructors aren't going to push the course back. The course is there. Everyone else in the country who's on that course are going to stand still. Do not stand still. Now it's the time to double down and let's fucking turn up and absolutely destroy the field.
There was so much,
and that's what we did.
So much information coming out through lockdown. Remember when it was like, relax, take this time, chill out. And other people giving it, learn a new skill, learn a language, learn the martial art, training, up your training, get the burpees in. It was a lot of people could have conflicting information coming at them, but I'm kind of on your side. It was stay as fit as possible, stay as active as possible, keep moving. There will be down days, there will be dark days. But yeah, coming out, I think if you kept active, you're in a much better position. You know, looking back now,
Yeah.
it'd have been a long old time, a long old lockdown to come out of it and think, God, I've done nothing for a year.
Yeah, I was using it to drive motivation. Everyone else is completely static. They are sacking it. They're taking up cooking and, you know, doing whatever they're doing now. And I was just like, let's just double down. We continue on task. We get as fit as possible, as strong as possible, and we go and own what their aim was. And they did.
Now, what's for the everyday man and woman, it isn't always that easy. And a lot of my listeners will be down that route, that they work hard, come home, bath the kids, put them to bed, and they're shattered. You must come across those sorts of people. And I put a post out today that I'm a dad of 3, own a business, run the podcast, all these. We've all got so much going on and so many excuses. Sometimes it is hard to get the fitness in, to eat right, and you start slipping. You get any? What does your mindset do when, if you ever, you probably don't, if you feel yourself going off the edge a little bit, if you're making the bad choices in the kitchen, at the shops, grabbing the wrong thing, skipping a session?
So for me, in an athlete perspective, now obviously I'm 99%, I'm always being the coach, but from an athlete perspective, it's a trade-off. So I've got a little girl, and I want to be able to pick her up, and I want to be able to run through the park with her. And if she wants to go to ballet, you better believe that I'll be the best dad doing ballet there. And if she wants gymnastics, I'll be doing the same. If she wants to play football, I'll be whipping in corners all day, all night, as long as she wants to. That has to have a trade-off of effort. So I have to go and do something in order to be able to do that for a long time, because sustainability is what we want. We want to be able to do it forever. And then I want to do it with her kids and their kids. So when it comes to like the trade-off with my missus, it's the fact that I'm putting in the effort now so that I can have it. And I completely get it, mate, in terms of like work and time and effort. And I'm the guy, I bath my little girl, and I want to put her to bed and stuff like that. And then I want to spend time with my wife. And then it's like, you know, I'm up early, or the baby's had a shit night's sleep, which means I've had a shit night's sleep, which means your day's like, I'm actually writing a book on it now. And it's the fact that, you know, this is where, and now from a coach's perspective, this is when I program and prescribe, I take all of this into consideration. I never, ever, ever put a time and a date on a session, because I know, and you know, that your kids will dictate that time and that date.
Yeah,
some external factor will completely fuck that off. I don't know if I can swear on this, by the way, but I'm from Liverpool, so I'm swearing quite a bit.
Let it rip.
So I know that that's probably not going to happen, which, you know, you got people like Jocko, get up at 5 a.m. Well, that's okay, as long as your baby's not been up from 1 till 5. And what happens if you miss that 5 o'clock morning or 4:15, whatever it is? And the people who say, you know, get down to the beach today, or you know, and that will start your day. Well, what happens if you miss that? Is your day ruined? I'm just like, just roll with it. If you can't get that session in, let's make another plan. And I'm on hand to do that with them. Okay, have a look. The people who want to go UKSF selection, you spoke to your wife? No, she'll be all right with it. There's going to be a big commitment, especially through COVID. Those 6 months, you are not going home at all. You do not need any external influence, or you'll fail. And it's like, you know, you've got to get that climate in order. And if it's not in order, then the aim might not be for you. But everyone encompasses that. Your family are a part of that. This is why when I prescribe, I do it so accurately to an nth degree, where I say, right, I need you there, mate, for 32 minutes. Go on. It's the trade-off. You know, if you need to do something extra around the house to get that 32 minutes, but I need you for that 32 minutes, because it's going to optimize this and this, which means the end game is going to come a little bit closer. So it's difficult. I completely get it from an athlete perspective. From a coach perspective, I just try and be on hand to move things around in order to make it work and make it fit. Yeah. But people normally come to me because they've got an extremely serious aim anyway. And they understand that has to come with a caveat of normally drama with a family.
Yeah, I can relate to the drama. But I tell you, you nailed it there with the get down to the beach in the morning. I'm that guy. I'm an early morning guy. I'm a cold water guy in the east coast here of Scotland. And I used to be pretty regimented with it. And through lockdown, I could go. I could get out once a day, go down to the beach, in the water, do it. It's on Instagram. Keep that community going. Keep that. Now life is back. Now business is open. Now school clubs, judo, football, tennis, ballet, brownies, rainbows, you name it. And God bless my wife for everything she does while I'm at work, and we balance and we change and we have our roles that we take care of. But it isn't possible. And then sometimes though, that annoys me that I can't put out to my followers that I'm still getting after it. I'm still doing it. And I sometimes feel like I'm letting people down, because I get messages about, Nashi, your morning routine, it motivates me, it keeps me going. I literally just can't do it every morning. Sometimes I've got to be in the office at 6 a.m. Sometimes I have been up with Hunter, my middle boy, all night because he's had a nightmare or something's happened. I found him on the sofa last night, 2:30 a.m., bowl of Cocoa Pops, watching Tom and Jerry. So that's me up. I heard the TV blaring. So that's me up, get him to bed, tell him off, then try and get myself back to sleep. That is life, mate, isn't it? It's so funny that there's pressures like Jocko's. I'm a big fan of Jocko. I like everything he does, but that suits him. He's working that out.
Yeah, and that's perfect for him. And I'm a very big believer in, like you say, getting after it. If that's your routine, you go and try and make that routine. But do not be disheartened when something affects it. Yeah. Find another time to go and do it. Life gets in the way of all sorts of shit. When you're on your way, some people have got to get the train to the gym, but the trains are off that day. Have they ruined the day? Just find another time. Get the bus. Go tomorrow. Whatever it is, prescribe so many sessions per week, whereby if you miss a day, it doesn't matter. We'll find it. It's a cumulative load. Same with like calories. When people are like trying to go into a calorie deficit, you consider the deficit of the 24 hours. Consider it over a week or a month if you have to, if that's how you can get that through your life. But life gets in the way. You just got to get around it, and find other ways. And that's why I'm so chilled out with it. Yeah. And a lot of people will get really confused by that because I'm regimented in a lot of other ways. But when it comes to this type of stuff, especially now I've got a little family, I just get it. I understand it. I understand that there's no way. And you see it all the time with PTs prescribing, right, 10 o'clock, I want you to do this session. And then Wednesday, I want you to 11 o'clock, I want you on that session. You're on spinning at 7 on Thursday. And it's like, well, I can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that. Now what?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm prescribing you. That's your sessions. If you don't do that, you're going backwards. Right, we'll go backwards then. Yeah. So there's no other option. It's like, it doesn't fit in their lifestyle.
Yeah. No, I get it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's refreshing to hear. It's a nice view, or it's a pretty accurate and accommodating view that you've got on fitness. And are you the same on diet? Do you follow any diets or? Not me necessarily. So I always consider about eating to perform. So it's in terms of, I try to put more calories in because I'm not really that performance orientated anymore. It's more aesthetics at the moment. During the summer, I always do it. Go on holiday and stuff. So it's more about me getting more calories in. And I'm quite a skinny guy anyway, so I'm okay. I don't count them that much. I still try to consider it 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, and I understand my basal metabolic rate and try and sit above it. But other than that, it's not a case of like I'm measuring out rice and stuff. It's just not for me. And in consideration for my athletes, I provide them with every piece of information they need on what a calorie is and what it does to your body and what you need to perform. But as long as they're performing, I don't really care what they look like. So from an aesthetics point of view, I'm not interested. I'm interested in you turning up and winning. That's something through years ago at rugby, we would get training sessions at Arbroath military camp. I forget the actual name of it, but we'd get taken there and we'd get run ragged for 2 to 3 days and get put through the sessions. And quite a lot of some of the soldiers wouldn't look shredded. They wouldn't look particularly, I don't know, what you might think is a soldier, someone that's going to go to war. But my God, they had the mentality, they had the fitness, they could run all day, they could carry that log all day, and they could do it with a night on the beers the night before. It's interesting there that, so I take it if someone comes to you and says, I want to be ripped for the summer, that's not your ideal.
I'm not your guy.
That's not your client. You're looking for
somebody. They get turned down. They fail the application process. I'm not your guy. I understand the rationale behind it, but there's so many more better people than me out there that can do that and help you with that. So that's not me. I get that all the time. People message me all the time asking, can you do that? And I point them to someone who can.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's that dad bod. I like talking about this. I'm 37. I like talking about that sort of mid-30s, pushing 40, thinking I've lost it, thinking, can I get it back? I'm touching wood here. I seem to still have a metabolism that can pick up the fitness quite quickly. And if I do fall off it, or if I go on holiday, and I don't drink very much but anymore, but it's getting to that point of, is it 40? Or am I going to really see things changing in ability at 40? But then, should I be that worried? Am I just thinking aesthetically? Because if I can still keep up with the boys and still swim with my daughter and all these sorts of things, the activities they like, does it matter if you can't see a six-pack and bulging biceps and all that? No, if I'm healthy, eating with a few love handles and this, that, and the other, as long as I can keep up with them.
And that's it. And that's your priorities. As long as your priorities are in order, then it doesn't matter. As long as you can still do those things with your family that you just mentioned, then I'm in the mindset that it doesn't really matter. But then if your priority changes and you want to look a certain way, then that becomes a priority. So you have to go and make sure that happens. But I'm pretty confident it will sit a little bit lower than looking after your family.
Yeah, absolutely. How was the event you were at? I saw you were at the fitness event in London. What takeaways did you have from that event? I know there was quite a few household names there, and a couple of the big Instagram players and people with big businesses that maybe do maneuver on the aesthetic side and getting people look summer body shape and all that sort of stuff. How did you get on at that event?
Yeah, it was very good. My takeaways were on a business side. I was there to try and get better knowledge on my business and try to pull as much information from. I am a sponge, and I say this to everyone, the best coaches steal. The best coaches in the world take every pocket of information they possibly can from every other coach, both positive and negative, and implement that into their own lives. So go and hang around with these people and try your hardest to try and take every ounce of information from them. And you'll get some shit stuff and you'll get some really great stuff. And it's important to acknowledge both. And that's exactly what I did. That was my full intention. I was going there completely selfish to try and make me and my business better. And I took loads of stuff away from it. I've spoke to James quite a lot. He's a really nice guy. I went down there and met him, and he invited me down. It was good. I was potentially going to deliver on it at one point. Hopefully I will next year at Lisbon. And it was really good to see other people in the business and see what they're doing and how they do it and taking that information away. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think there was about 750 PTs or something there. Yeah. So it was good.
And have you enjoyed, that's James Smith you mentioned, and he's kind of trailblazing the PT industry with his books and his online social presence. How have you enjoyed watching his sort of rise to where he is today?
I didn't really see his rise. I started speaking to him. I only started speaking to him because someone messaged me saying, "Oh, James Smith follows you. How cool is that?" And obviously knew about him and knew everything. I was like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." And then I don't know how we got talking, but we got talking and we just chatted since. And he's just a really nice guy. And and we just hit off. We got very similar mindsets, and he invited me down, which was nice of him. And that's it. And it's nice. I love seeing other people do well. And now I know him slightly. I like seeing him do well. I want all my mates, all my close mates, I want them to do well, and I'll do anything to try and help them to do well. So if that's what he is, then I'll push him as much as I can.
And where do you see your business going? Do you see it staying? Are you going to try and stay in your lane, as in still specializing in what you do, or do you see yourself maneuvering into different sort of parts of the industry? Do you see you setting out other coaches around the world and branching out into different territories and things like that? I know you've got a global client base at the moment, but if you see what I mean, how far could you take it? How far could it go?
I've got a few businesses at the moment. My main one is coaching, online personal coaching. I'm releasing a book, hopefully around about February. which is all about coaching, with snippets about my life and how what happened back then are driving decisions that I make now from a coaching perspective. I then own a technology company, and I own an artificial intelligence coaching platform where I've worked out the exact resistance you can put through every muscle in your body, and that's going really well.
But dig into that, open up on that. What's the future there?
I can't actually talk that much about it with the certain clientele, but that's the bottom line of it, and that's going out hopefully all over the world. We took on a client today with your accent, a unit of clients, quite a lot of them. But yeah, so that's what I do with the technology company side. I absolutely love that side because we can help so many people out at once, and it's incredible. But my main driver is my online personal coaching. I love nothing more than putting people in spaces that they never thought was possible, in things that have always been out of reach, whether that's your age or your gender, and it's just never been possible before. There's nothing better than getting a coach-athlete relationship and driving them towards that goal from an S&C perspective, and being part of that team that does it. And I absolutely love that.
I'm going to drag you back to the AI because it does interest me, the future of technology, and it worries me about my kids. Now, we don't have computers in the house apart from this one that I'm using to record the podcast, but they're getting into things, and you see AI coming, you see headsets coming, you see all sorts of things. And you hear I listen to Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and you hear him interviewing scientists and Elon Musk about Neuralinks and all sorts of things that are going to be implanted in our heads, headsets that will go on. And instead of people leaving their house, they'll just go into a virtual world in their house, in their lounge, and they won't move. But their brain is active and they think they've had a day's work or they've done a day's exercise, but they're actually just sitting. You know, do you worry about the future of what is out there for our kids, and are they getting the right influences around them?
Well, that's the last sentence is what will drive it, is the influence around them. That is the way of the world. What you've just said, that's the direction it's going to go. And it's going to be those influences, like you've said yourself, where you've got to still try and get outside with that's what I want to do, my little girl. It's so easy to put them in front of an iPad, but although that is the way of the world, it worries me.
It's you and me as dads and mums that are out there that have to take the responsibility, Yeah,
I mean, I'm a little bit younger than you, mate. So I've literally grown up with this technology side, not to the degree that it is now and how accessible it is now, but I can't remember not having a phone. So it's like,
yeah, it
is crazy, and it's even more so now. The kids are probably getting younger and younger with phones, but I just think it's the way of the world, and I think it's, if you don't get on board with it, you're going to get left behind, because technology is what's going to drive the world.
How old are you?
30.
So you know what an N64 is?
Yeah,
Nintendo 64. I got that. This is how
I've never had one. I'm a little bit young for that, but I know what you mean.
I had one, and GoldenEye was the best game of all time. And my brother-in-law still has one. I've got it at my house, borrowed it at the weekend. I don't have the right cables. That is about my level of computer.
Amazon.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll get there. But that is about where I'm at with my computing. And I can do iPad, I can do Instagram, I can do podcasting. But I think it's going to be crucial to me in my late 30s keeping up with technology as it, you've got to be on TikTok. I've downloaded the app. I've looked at TikTok. I didn't take it. I didn't spend the time, and I deleted it. What else is going to come? And whatever comes next, my kids are probably going to know how to use it immediately. And it's
I mean, I'm not into like TikTok and shit. I'm doing, if you can't see me, I'm putting my fingers in the air saying I am the worst influencer in the world. I have got no intentions of like selling skinny tea or any sort of shite that no one really wants. And I don't follow the social norms of what other people they do, where they're dancing on TikTok and they'll post at a certain time. I just post whatever's in my head, and I normally through Instagram, and I think it might go onto Facebook. I don't really know. And that's all I do. And I just run away with that. And I try and keep it as natural and as organic as possible. And it's got me this far. Maybe this is as far as I go if it my ceiling, because I'm not following the norms, but I'll stay true to what I believe in, and what I like. And that's how I run with it.
Yeah, but when your daughter is at her friend's house and her friend's got the latest thing that you don't know about, do you think you'll see yourself trying to understand it, learn it, and have to sign up, or
yeah,
that's the tricky one. That's the tricky bit.
She's only 2, mate, so I've got a little bit of time yet. Just give me a little bit of space first, mate. Let me have my moment. I know it's coming. My
oldest is 7, and she knows what's out there. She talks about a TikTok.
I can only imagine.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
My little girl can go and unlock my phone, knows my code to my phone. She's 2 years old, and she can go and get my phone and type in the 4-digit code, which is outrageous.
It's crazy. But I don't know. It's their future. I didn't have it when I was a boy. Gone are the days of coming home when the street lights go on. You know, you can't just roam the streets, or at a young age. It's over, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of the stuff they do is at home. And my wife and I, what we try to create here is a safe environment in the garden and the football goals and all these sorts of things to try and make it as adventurous here, using our sort of get after it family ethos of getting the beach, getting the water, outdoors, do as much as you can and keep them as active as possible. But every now and again, the TV does go on. The distractions have got to come because mum and dad need a rest.
Well, and that's another side to it. You know, it's we can hate technology as much as we want, but at one point you sat there going, thank God that I'm getting a little bit of a respite here, and whatever's on the telly.
That's it. What's the book, February next year? You're in the middle of writing it. What's that going to be on?
Yeah, I hope so. So it's going to go out as an audio first. So it's going to be on Audible. That was the direction we wanted to go down, and it's coming along really nicely. I'm absolutely loving the process. I'm loving putting all my thoughts and feelings down on paper. Because what I really struggle, to be honest, about going and explaining something. I'm better. I never prepare for any of these podcasts or anything like that. I just basically I'm more natural, and it comes out better when someone just goes, "What do you mean by that?" Yeah. And I just say it. And you know, when we've sat around with like the editors and the publishers and stuff, and they're like, "What did you just say?" Like, thankfully this is recorded. We're going to go back and write that down, but that was seriously. And I'm just like, I don't even know. It just comes out. So for me to try and put that onto the paper I thought in my head was quite difficult. Now you can see me doing snippets of it on Instagram, which is absolutely fine. I find that, you know, quite easy and natural for me to write whatever's in my mind. But for me to go sit down and try and put thousands and thousands of words, I'm like, a bit out of the game from uni, and I'm just like, right, need a bit of help. So I'm better at this. I'm better when we're talking and engaging, and I'll just go, I'm going to write that down. That's how I'm doing it at the moment, and it's coming along really nicely and organically, which is cool.
That's it. You found your groove. You found what works for you. So you stick to that. That's the right thing to do. So in that book, you're drawing on your military experience as well. Everything. Because a lot of that is drove where I am now. That's all I've ever known. I know in school, and then I know in the military a month later. That's all I've ever known, and it was it's a huge part of my life. I'm actually back in now as a reserve. Hopefully, going to be commissioning back into the parachute regiment. So it always has been, and it probably always will be as long as I'm coaching, because my demographic probably won't change. Mm-hmm. So, but we'll see. So I am gonna. A lot of it we'll talk about that, but a lot of crossover into how I coach people has a huge crossover into how it can affect someone's life and business, or, you know, and I'm not going to try and be a life coach on there, but it has huge crossover and huge benefits for other people. Yeah, and the people you are benefiting, when you say the first responders, and you mentioned New York firefighters earlier, have you ever been across and actually trained with guys like that? And
never. I've been across to other countries and trained with other people, but I've never done anything with New York firefighters. Just all online. I take on aims. I work backwards. I understand the person. I understand what their climate and environment looks like. I understand what they have available to them in terms of equipment, and I build a plan, and it works.
What about? Have you got a bucket list of things people you'd like to train with, or things you'd like to do?
I have trained some of the most craziest people you could ever imagine. What's so poor about my business is that I can't monopolize it in a way that I can't market it, because the people I work with, I can't really talk about. So I can't put like a transformational Tuesday on my Instagram and say, well, I've trained with this guy who's now doing this.
Yeah.
Because most of them can never be spoken about again. I've trained with some UFC fighters. I've trained with all sorts of people. And it's like, what I've done now is I've just blanketed where it's complete confidentiality, which I think loads of athletes like. I'm not taking pictures of them in the gym, or I'm not asking them to send me loads of selfies and tag me and stuff on Instagram. We're there to do a job. So when they go to the gym, I solely want them to be the athlete and consider nothing else. It's there. We get the job done. We complete the aim and we move on.
And you pick up a decent bit of business through referrals, like one fighter, or
most of it is.
Most of it
is.
It's the best way to grow.
I'll get 100 applications per intake. I don't take anyone. Sometimes I take on, depending on spaces, I can take on 8, 10 people, and it's just like completely depends on spaces. But I turn a lot of people down. It's an awful business model, mate. It's absolutely terrible in terms of marketing. Someone will be listening to this going, get me onto this guy. I need to scale it. But I don't want it to scale. It's a very niche subject that I've got, and it requires a lot of time for me to consider all those factors, because there's nothing generic getting thrown out. So it's really difficult for me to scale it.
Well, mate, good on you. You've got it to this point, and you've created a business. You've created something that's successful, and people are interested, and who knows where it'll take you. And if you're going,
I'm the sock guy now as well. So one of my other businesses, I sell socks. I built some myself that I could. So in the military, the issued socks are a load of shit. And so what you go and do is, first of all, you go and buy like Bridgedales or some of the high-end socks, which are good for, the grannies walking up and down the hills really slow, feet stay dry. In the military, what happens is when they start getting wet or they're used over a prolonged period of time, they're not that great. So what we then do is I then reverted back to, the classic 3 for 10 quid Nike socks, which do the job, but they don't last very long at all. So I built my own ones, and I put a picture on my Instagram of me in them, and someone said, what are they? So I thought, okay, let me have a little think about it, and put a few out there. Got them made, and they hugged certain ligaments, and they're airy in certain areas and padded in other areas, and they've got a bit of compression up the Achilles, and there's a bit of science gone into it, but it was for me. So anyway, I put them out there, and they sold out, and I was like, right, okay, this is a thing then. So I did it again. I doubled down, and it sold out within the first day. And I was like, okay, so doubled it again, and it sold out within the first day. And I was like, right, I am now the sock guy. So I've just ran with it. And yeah, my theory behind it is that I can make someone as fit and as fast and as, mobile as possible. But if their feet give out on them, they're no good to anyone. So I ran with it, and it's took off, which is nice.
I can hear Dragon's Den calling you. You've got so many.
Yeah,
you've got so
again.
many.
Again, it's probably such a poor business model, mate, that I'm just sort of like ordering these socks where I'm not ordering them to any sort of scale. So it costs me an absolute fortune to like get them over here and package them and all that shit. But I'm just like, I just roll with it, mate. I'm just like, my first thought of everything in terms of is not business, is not putting out, as long as food's on the table, my family's looked after. Secondly, it's all about the athlete. And I want them to achieve that. I'm so intent on them achieving their aim. Everything else falls secondary.
Do you know, maybe know Brian Wood and Keep Attacking?
Yeah.
He's maybe a guy to speak to about your socks. He's got the distribution and all that sort of stuff.
I've got it nailed down now. It's obviously I'm not doing thousands and thousands of units, so I don't know what happens at that level, which I'm sure Brian's got squared down to a T. But that's one of the things that everyone goes into is like t-shirts and jackets and shorts and stuff. And I was just like, I get everything for free from Instagram because people just send me all sorts of stuff. But I just thought I'm never going to get into that world where you're competing against Nike. I haven't got the time. No one does socks. So I did it.
Stay there. Keep the feet comfortable. Good on you, mate. Really,
I'll send you some up, mate.
That'd be fantastic. But it's just interesting to hear about I've interviewed a lot of guys with military backgrounds, and the way you've transitioned, you're still a little bit involved in the military, but you found your niche. And I've heard and I've spoken to many soldiers that have not, and they've gone down tough paths, they've gone into dark areas, and they've mixed with suicide and alcohol and all these sorts of things. And you found your route, mate. So good on you, congratulations. And I followed you for ages, and just really enjoyed what you put out and the content you put out. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that.
All the best, mate. All right, take care.
Thank you, mate.